Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una wa zidna 'ilma. Ameen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah. So before Ramadan, Alhamdulillah, we finished some of the words that we were trying to accomplish, inshallah. I think before Ramadan, I thought we were going to finish in 4 weeks all those frequent used words in the Quran. But I mean, it's going to take maybe a few more weeks, inshallah, maybe 1.5 to 2 months more, inshallah, which is not that bad actually, to try to accomplish 50% of the Quran, inshallah, like the frequent words that are used in the Quran. So we think we finished about 14, 15 words, and from the 14, 15 words that amounted to a lot of times, which those words were repeated constantly, about I think 3,500 times it was repeated in the Quran, right? And as you can see on this first slide, that this is just an estimate of how many words there are in the Quran, right? That there are approximately 600 pages in the Quran. If you're using a Quran that has 15 lines, there's an average of 9 words per line, so about 130, 135 words per page on a 15-line Quran. So roughly around 75,000 words in the Quran that are in the Quran, and we accomplished 3,500 of those. So that's a good percentage for 4.5 to 5% of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish, as you saw on the flyer, 50% of the Quran. So we could start from there, baby steps, inshallah, and we could learn more, later on to accomplish that, 80, 90, 100% of the Quran, inshallah ta'ala. So I want to go over those words that we did last time before Ramadan, just to get like a real quick refresher and to refresh our minds, inshallah, and then we'll continue on to newer words today, inshallah. Okay. This is another word chart of the Quran where you can see how it's divided into, and if you look at the pie, the blue shaded part is what we're trying to focus on. The miscellaneous words, 45% to 50%, are miscellaneous words that we are trying to, inshallah, focus on, and then later on we can go into verbs and nouns, etc., inshallah. And then this is what we kind of did in the beginning of that. Sorry. We went over the basics, which is like these words that you can see on the screen, that hada, dhalika, hadihi, tilka, haula'i, ulaika, etc. So as you can see here, hada means this, and hada comes almost, so many places in the Quran. Dhalika is for that, and the color coded blue is for a masculine gender, pink is for the feminine gender, and then the yellow is for plural. So for hada, it means this, right? That this is something that's close by, something near. So you say hada, whatever you're pointing towards. Hada kitabun, this is a book. And then dhalika, it means the same thing, that or it means that something that's far away, but also it's referring. You're pointing at something. You're indicating something, that something over there, right? That is, if you're pointing at the moon is not close to us. So in the moon in Arabic is qamar. So we say dhalika qamarun. Right? That over there in the sky is the moon, right? As well as in Surah Al-Baqarah, in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalikal Kitab, right? That is the book, referring to the Quran that's inscribed in Lawh Mahfuz, that in the heavens, Allah wrote down already the Quran before creation, that is the book. So hada, dhalika, and then we go on to the feminine genders, hadihi, which is the same meaning as hada, but it's used for feminine nouns, feminine pronouns. Similarly, tilka means the same thing as the dhalika, and it's used for the feminine, for feminine nouns and feminine pronouns, right? So hada, hadihi mean the same thing. It means this. One is for masculine, hada, and then hadihi is for feminine. Dhalika and tilka, they both mean that, pointing at something that's far away, but dhalika is for masculine and tilka is for feminine. Haulai, now these two last words, the plural words, haulai, all of these, that if you have a bunch of books, if you're in a library and you're pointing at at a bookshelf and you're saying haulai, kutub, right? The kutub is a plural of kitab, book, right? So all these are books. Ha'ulai. And if you're pointing at something that's far away, if you're pointing at a lot of things that are far away, then you're gonna say ulaika. Those over there are books, or those over there are men, or they're women, right? So plural, there's no, there's no specific gender. You could use ha'ulai for feminine and masculine. Same thing with ulaika. You could use that for feminine and masculine, and that comes in the Quran as well. Sometimes, for example, Surah Baqarah, right? The very common, example is Allah says, "Ulaika humul muflihun," or in the Quran He says, "Ulaika humul muflihun, ulaika humul muttaqun." Ulaik, those people are the pious people. Those people are the successful people. So, if you fill that criteria, man or woman or child, or old or young, doesn't matter who you are or what gender. If you fit that criteria, you will be successful, meaning in the hereafter. If you fit the criteria of piety, then you'll be amongst the muttaqun or the muttaqeen, right? So ha'ulai and ulaika for both masculine and feminine, right? 1 second, yeah. If you want to just follow this thing, that thing is kind of glitching. So we have the projector up, but it's kind of glitching a little bit. So you can follow this, inshallah. Okay. So that was some of the words. And the next slide, we have a few more words. So these were the demonstrative pronouns, right? That you use this to identify a noun, right? Whether it's a close noun, meaning this is something that's close to you, or whether it's a noun that's far away, a thing or a person who's sitting far away, or a book that's far away on a shelf. So you could use these words, hada, hadihi, dhalika, tilka, haulai, ulaik, for those examples. And they come in the Quran, as we went over all the ayats last time. I'm not going to go over everything, but whenever you come across it in the Quran, now you can stop and kind of think, okay, this is hada, so whatever's coming after hada has to be a noun or something. There has to be something that's talking about a noun or a person, etc. Right? And then the next three words, these are the these are alladhi, allati, and alladina. And alladhi, which is used for the masculine, for a masculine person, that he who, right? So alladhi, that someone is about to, they're doing something, they're running, or they're speaking, or they're writing. Then you use the word alladhi, that that person is doing this, and use alladhi, that he who did that, or he who wrote that, or hit that, or they read that, etc. And similar to that is allati, that she who, right, for the feminine noun, whether it's a person or even if it's a feminine object, right? In Arabic there's masculine and feminine objects, right? Not in the English language, but in Arabic there is, and maybe other languages as well. So alladhi is for the masculine noun, he who. Allati is for she who, the feminine noun, or feminine noun. Alladina is the plural. So just like we did in the previous slide, ulaika and haulai, which means these or those, which are used for both masculine and feminine. Alladina is the same thing, that it's used for those who, or it could be a group of men and women mixed together, and you can still use alladina. There's no gender specific pronoun it's being directed to, or being that you're indicating towards, right? So it could be used for a group of people, whether it's men or women, or if it's men and women together. Okay. So yeah, so these were the words actually that we did before Ramadan. So these 6 here, and then we did these 3 more. So that's about 9 words. I think there's some more words that that's still coming. So this is just a quick revision that I don't know if we have so much time to go over it real quickly, but we'll just go over it real quick. That allati, we just did that it means it was for the feminine, so it's going to be pink, and then a she who, or which, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses it in the Quran, even for, not for a feminine person sometimes, but even for like a feminine object or a thing. Like for example, fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says an-nar in the Quran, which means fire, and an-nar is a feminine word. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word allati after that, or even a word jahannam, for example. Jahannam is more easier to to comprehend, because jahannam is in it's in all the languages that we use jahannam to mean the hellfire, right? And jahannam in Arabic is a feminine word. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word allati after the word jahannam. That jahannam allati, and then people, that people I'm trying to think of an example. هذه جهنم التي يُكَذِّبُ بِهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هذه, which is the demonstrated pronoun for feminine, هذه, this, هذه Jahannam is the Jahannam, التي, that يُكَذِّبُ بِهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ, that the deniers have, they denied. People that are liars, people that are hypocrites, they denied this Jahannam. And this is now being served to them in the hell, in the hereafter, that they'll be, dragged into the hellfire. So Allah, the thing I'm trying to highlight here is that hadihi is used, first of all, which is a feminine demonstrative pronoun, which means this, and is referring to Jahannam, which is the feminine noun. And then allati is now describing that noun, which is Jahannam, right? So hadihi and allati. So these are just some words that come, a lot in the Quran. You don't have to know the exact meaning of, all these words, but when they do come, maybe now you'll know, okay, this is maybe a feminine noun or a masculine noun. And a lot of the Arabic words are even sometimes in our own languages, in Urdu or Bangla or etc., Hindi. So sometimes you can make a sentence up just by the context. And if you know a few of the words already in the sentence, we can make it. We can make up the rest, or we can try to understand the rest of the verse with our limited knowledge for now. And then, inshallah, as we learn more, we will decipher more of the verses of the Quran, inshallah. Alladina, those who, for plural, men or women. Ulaika, this is a demonstrated pronoun meaning those. That ulaika, let's see, if there's a bunch of young boys, ulaika ghilman, those are the boys, ulaika over there on the playground, right? And then haulai means these. So if you're saying, if you're pointing at a lot of people in the masjid, you say, haulai rijal, these are all the men, right in front of me, right here in the masjid. So that's haulai is nearby, ulaika is somewhere far from you. Alladhi, another word to describe the noun, but for the masculine noun, he, who, or which, right? So for example, any kind of masculine noun, whether it's kitab, whether it's Quran, whether it's masjid, these are all masculine nouns. You could use alladhi to describe that noun. Or if it's a person, that if I say my name, like aqib alladhi qara al-Quran, right? That Aqib is the one who reads the Quran, right? So I'll use alladhi for me because I'm a male. So if I'm talking about Fatima or Khadija, I'll use allati, right? So that's for a person, a living being, but you could also use it for non-living, masculine and feminine, nouns, alladhin, allati. Dhalika, very easy, simple. Dhalika means that. Dhalika al-kitab, la rayba fi. That is the book. Tilka means that as well, but for the feminine noun. And dhalika is for the masculine noun. And hadihi, which means this, for the feminine noun, but something that's nearby. This is, Jannah. Hadihi Jannah. This is, heaven. Or this is, a garden of paradise, right? So that some of the words. Another one more slide of some of the words that we did before. Hada, very easy. The first word that we learned, hada means this. So you pick up a phone. I could say that hada, phone. Hada jawal. This is a phone. It's in my hand. I can't say dhalika jawal because it's in my hand. If my phone was over there 5 feet away from me, then I could say dhalika phone or dhalika jawal, right? So that is hada, this. Dhalika, the next word. So that's, we know, I just said that. Dhalika means that. So something that's far away, then I could say dhalika is, dhalika kitab. That is the book over there. Haulai, these, plural for, men or women, or, masculine or feminine words. Hadihi means this for the feminine noun. Ulaika means those for masculine or feminine nouns. And tilka means that for only the feminine noun that's far away. Tilka, for example, you're pointing at the sun. The sun is in the sky. Tilka shams. That is the sun. And shams is a feminine word in Arabic, right? So tilka shamsun, that is the sun up in the sky, right? So we can't say hadihi because the sun is not right next to us, right? If it was, we'd be, burning up a lot. So yeah. So this is all before Ramadan that we covered, right? I know this took a bit of time, but I kind of want to just give everyone a quick refresher that did this, that joined us before Ramadan. And from these, I think 12, 13 words, we covered about 3,500 words from the Quran already, right? And that's about 5% of the Quran. So we have 45 more percent to go. But I think inshallah, if you get by with today's session, inshallah, the next few words, we can accomplish 4 or 5 more% of that. So it's only a few words at at the end of the sessions. It's only a few words, but they come so repeatedly, so often, and they're so frequent in the Quran that it amounts to thousands of times being repeated. So that's how you kind of pick up on the frequent words that are used. Let's see. This is also actually part of the last before Ramadan session as well. These 4 words, which are we finished demonstrative pronouns and alladhi, allati, all those things, and now then we went to the next chapter, which is the negation and exception particles, right? That yes, no, why not, like in English, except, right? And exceptions that are also frequently used in the Quran. So we did these 4 before Ramadan as well. I'll quickly go over them. That number 1 is the word na'am. Let me get this. Yeah, the word na'am, which is in the middle. Na'am in Arabic pronunciation over here. Na'am, which is a very common word, which means yes, right? If anyone asks you a question that you are going to respond in the affirmative, you're going to say na'am, yes, right? And that comes a few times, not so many times in the Quran, a few times in the Quran. But just for the sake of explaining negation and this affirmative particle, we're going to bring this in. So na'am comes a few times in the Quran, which means yes, but it's commonly used when you're talking to someone in Arabic or anything you want to answer and say na'am, right? Number 2 is bala. Bala comes a lot. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of it in the Quran, or when we're reciting ourselves, we've come across it. That bala means yes, indeed, or it could also mean like yeah, why not? Or bala, certainly. So this word gives emphasis that yes, indeed, or of course, certainly, right? Bala comes in the Quran, right? So for example, someone asks you a very someone asks you a very, I guess, rhetoric question, or they ask you a question that that of course you did something, right? If they ask you, oh, did you pray, like if you're at the masjid and they ask you if you prayed, like, yes, of course I prayed, I'm at the masjid, right? So then at that point you could say bala, of course, I'm at the masjid, I'm gonna pray, right? So bala, yes, indeed, certainly, with a little, it means yes, basically like na'am, but with more emphasis, and that comes in the Quran multiple times. The third word that we did before Ramadan was kalla. Kalla means kind of like the opposite of bala, right? So bala is like a very strong yes, kalla is like a very strong no. That kalla, certainly not, right? That this can never happen, right? That, for example, if you're someone says that if you miss salah, right, and you're actually a very good, very pious, very obedient Muslim, where you're very punctual on your salahs, and someone asks you, did you miss your prayers? And they say, no, kalla, never, certainly not, that can never happen, right? I mean, it can happen because we're humans, but just to give off the emphasis to that person that you're responding to, that you say kalla, certainly not, this can never happen. So Allah uses in the Quran as well to kind of show us in certain parts. Sometimes He's used for good things, like people going to Jannah. Sometimes He's used for bad things or negative things, like people going to Jahannam, or people that are transgressing the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sharia. So Allah uses kalla, kalla, for example, in Surah Fajr, kalla balla tukrimun al-yatim, right? It's certainly not that la tukrimun al-yatim, people that you do not honor, you do not respect the orphan, right? So people that are astray, people that are deceitful, they're not going to honor the orphan. They're not going to honor, actually, it was a custom back then that people would try to what's the word, they would try to exploit the orphan's wealth or the orphan's rights, and etc., right? And people still do that till today, right? Because no one wants to take care of another person's child. So if they have some wealth that the orphan was left with, they'll take all that wealth, right? So and that's not honoring them. That's the opposite of honoring them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, kalla balla tukrimun al-yatim, that you will never honor the orphan, right? So people like that will never honor the orphan or the rights of the orphan in Islam. So kalla is like a very strong no. And the last word that we did was illa, which comes a lot, everywhere. Illa means except, right? That you say, for example, the most basic example is our kalima, la ilaha illallah, right? La, which means no in Arabic. Ilaha, which means our deity, our God, the one whom we worship. Ilah, which is God, Allah. So la ilaha, there is no God. La means no, God. Ilah means God, no God. Illa, except Allah, right? Except Allah. So that's our kalima, right? That we believe that we negate everything else before we, positively say that Allah is our deity, our God, the one whom we turn to, right? So so illa, which means except, it also gives off emphasis as well, right? For example, the kalima could have been, you know, Allah, Allahu ilahuna, right? Which means Allah is our Lord, right? So that could have been the kalima, that Allah is our Lord, and that still makes sense. But it's more, it comes off more stronger when we say there's no God at all, and then you bring illa to mean except Allah, right? So that negates everything else. That there's no God, there's no desire of mine that I'm gonna worship, there's no temptation I'm gonna fall into, that I'm going to, just run behind or worship. But my only, the only being that I do worship, illa, is Allah, right? So that gives off more emphasis on that. Even in the English language, if you say, no, like, if someone doesn't want to, like, I guess, eat protein, right? They'll say, I don't like eating protein at all, except, shrimp, or except fish, or except chicken. So that kind of negates all the other types of protein. And then, the only thing that person does eat is that shrimp or the chicken, right? So, that's more stronger than saying I only eat chicken or I only eat shrimp, right? So the emphasis is there through illa, which means except, and that comes in the Quran so many times. And we did examples of that before. I'm not sure if we're gonna come across any today. We could do, let's see, like these are some examples of those four words that we did. For example, na'am means yes. Very easy. It comes a few times, not too many times. So don't worry about that much. Bala, like I said, means but yes or certainly. So Allah says, Bala inna rabbahu kana bihi basira. But yes, indeed, certainly, his Lord sees him the best, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously, al-basir, the all-seer. He sees every single thing, whether it's during the day or during the night, or, under, in a very dark alley or whatever it is. Allah sees everything. So Bala brings that emphasis towards that quality of Allah. Kalla innal insana layatagha. Certainly not. So a very strong no. That no, but indeed man transgresses. That, kalla means, it means no, but then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings, a positive statement after that by saying that innal insana layatagha, that certainly not, no, but indeed insan, humans, they do transgress. That they're not faultless. They're not, they are, they do make mistakes, and they will transgress the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So kalla can be used for, it can be brought before a positive sentence too, but it means, it means a very strong no. It means certainly not, or no indeed. And la yaslaha illa al-ashqa. This is another example from the Quran, but I think the best example is the one I said already. La ilaha illallah, right? La ilaha illallah, something that we all know, that there is no ilah, there is no deity, no God besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that illa in the middle means except, which is going to negate everything else before it, and is going to strongly affirm what's coming after it, which is Allah, or whatever you say in any sentence, right? So that's illa, and it's gonna come a lot during the Quran, in the Quran. Okay, so those were the words that we did. So those were like maybe about like 15, 16 words actually, that are 5% of the Quran. And that's an example that for illa, la ilaha illallah. Illa means except. It's gonna come in the Quran lots of times. So keep an eye out for that when you're reading, inshallah. So these are some of the new words that we're going to try to do in the next half an hour or so, inshallah. Okay. So we're still on the chapter of negation and exception, right? So that we're going to, or in the Quran, it's going to come a lot of times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala negates something, but then He brings illa in to kind of strongly affirm it again. Just like illa, but different kinds of forms where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of shows emphasis in the Quran about a certain matter, right? So the first two examples are pretty much almost the same. They're just two different words. So if you see here, the first example is in, and then ... illa, right? And the ... means that in will come in the beginning of a sentence, like or it's gonna come in the beginning of a verse, and then illa will come somewhere in the middle, right? But the in and illa are actually connected in meaning, right? So in and then illa, And then you also have the second one was ma and illa. And I'm just gonna do these two together because they mean the same thing, but in and ma just came as two different words. So in and illa, and as we know already, the illa over here already means except, and the in over here and the ma in the second example or the second word, they both are negative words, meaning they both mean or they both give up the meaning of negation, that that no or does not or nothing, right? Except, right? Nothing but, or the illa comes back in the middle of the sentence to kind of mean except or but, right? So for example, I mean we'll do some Quranic examples in the next slide, but I mean, like for example, in English you could say the same thing, like um or I guess to make it more easier to understand, in the previous example that we did about la ilaha illallah right here, so la ilaha illallah, right? Over here you see the la means no, right? And la in Arabic means no already, that if for example na'am means yes, la is the opposite of that, no, right? So la means no, ilah means deity or God, and then illa is the word that we were looking at, means except, and then Allah is Allah, right? So there's no deity besides or except Allah. So just like how la over here is playing, or is giving the meaning of no, similarly in the next examples, in and ma are giving the meaning of no, that no, there's nothing, no, there's no protein I like to eat except shrimp or except chicken, right? Or there is no book that is better, or no, there's no book that is valuable except the Quran, right? So so then in those examples you can bring in and ma, or you can even bring la, like la ilaha illallah, you can bring that la as well, which means no, and then you bring the illa later on in the middle of the sentence or this the verse to emphasize what's coming after that, right? So I mean, it's a lot of kind of information, but inshallah with the examples we'll kind of get to see those things. So in, and then dot dot dot, somewhere in the middle of the sentence illa comes, or the second example or second word ma, and then dot dot dot, somewhere in the middle of the sentence illa comes again. They play the same role as la ilaha illallah, that la comes and then there's a ilah in the middle, and then illa comes to to negate all that and to affirm what's coming after, which is Allah, right? So they play the same exact role, same meaning, that nothing but, or there's nothing besides this, or there's no whatever it is, whatever you're trying to kind of negate and whatever you're trying to affirm will come after illa, right? So in and illa and ma and illa will be the same thing as like la and illa, like la ilaha illallah. So those are pretty, they're similar in meaning, they're similar in usage in the Quran as well. The only problem, I guess, not the problem, but the thing about the Arabic language is there's lots of words to mean no. There's la, there's in, there's ma, there's other words that mean no in the Quran or even in the Arabic language, and there's so many for different usages. But in and illa and ma and illa are very similar, and you'll see in the examples as well that they're pretty similar, inshallah. And then the next word is as Allah, Allah, which is just a hamza and the lam and then alif again. Allah means so as not to, or that not. So I think that not would be easier translation. That not, that you'll see in the examples as well that it usually comes in the middle of the sentence. That for example, you say that if you in the English language, if you tell someone that let's see, if I'm telling my student, or if I'm telling a child that I commanded you or I ordered you to do this so that you don't make a mistake, or for example, something about the Quran, that okay, I told you to memorize this rule of tajweed so that you don't make a mistake, so that you don't that you don't mess it up, right? So Allah will be used in those sentence or in that kind of sentence where it means that not, right? So Allah with the tajdeed on the lam will mean that not, and sometimes in the Quran you'll see a word similar, it's the same exact letters, but there's no tajdeed on the lam. It's going to be Allah without the tajdeed on the lam, so without the bounce on the lam. It's going to mean that listen or look or be aware, right? And Allah is more of a negation word, which means that that don't do this, or or don't do that, or so that you don't make a mistake, so that you don't go down the wrong path, right? So I mean, one thing you see in all these is the word la, which means no. So as soon as you see a la in the Quran similar to these, these shapes and forms, you're gonna know that there's a negation in this sentence, or there's a negation in this verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, right? So Allah means that not. And then the last word is super easy, la, which means no, or it means does not or do not, right? So la the word la, one thing to note is la can come before a noun, and it can also come before a verb, right? So when it does come before a verb, it's gonna mean does not or do not, like I have in here on the slide. And if it comes before a noun, it just means, for example, la ilaha illallah. La ilaha, ilaha is a noun. Ilaha is God. It's our deity. And it's a noun. And the la came before that. So that means that, la can come before a noun. It means that no God, or there is no God, or there is no la kitaba illa al-Quran. There's no book besides the Quran. Or say, like if you want to praise someone, if you want to praise another man or another person, you say, la rajula. La rajula. There is no man illa Ammar right next to me. Ammar. There's no man besides, there's no man like Ammar, right? So, la rajula illa Ammar, right? That there's no man except Ammar, right? I mean, there's no man like Ammar, right? So, la can come before a noun or person or anything or a thing, but it can also come before a verb, right? So, like for example, you're telling someone to don't speak. La taqul, don't speak, do not speak. Right, and we'll do examples from the Quran as well. La taqul, or la tashrib, don't drink, right? Don't drink that water or whatever it is. Don't drink alcohol, right? And that comes in the Quran. La will come, multiple thousands of times in the Quran, and that will be something that inshallah, you can easily be familiar of. Inshallah, keep an eye out for, and it'll be more familiar to you, inshallah. So now we'll go to the examples of all these, so it gives us a more clear picture of the words. So. Okay, the first example is of course of in and illa. So in ... some of the verse, and then illa comes again. So it means nothing but or nothing except. So you see in this example over here, in hada illa sihrun mubin, right? So I mean, I have all the examples on this slide. I'm just going to go to the next slide where it gives all the examples one by one. So we just focus on one at a time. So the first example was in and illa, right? So in this verse in Surah Ma'idah, Allah says, in hada illa sihrun mubin. In hada illa sihrun mubin. So hada, we know what this hada means already. It means this, right? Demonstrative pronoun for the masculine gender. Hada, this is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in, which means no, right? In over here means no. Hada means this. Illa means but or nothing but. Sihr means magic, as you can see down here as well. And mubin means clear or plain, like this is apparent magic, this is clear magic, right? So what this translates is to, this is nothing but plain magic, right? This is nothing but plain magic. So if you break it down, like I said, in and illa, they won't be next to each other, but they're connected in meaning, right? So maybe there will be like a 3-4 other words in the, over here there's only one word in the middle between these two, but sometimes in other verses you'll see 3-4 other words or 5-6 other words in between in and illa, but the in and illa are connected together, which means nothing but or nothing except, right? So for example, in over here means nothing, or you say no. Hada means this. Illa means but. So so far this means that okay, there's nothing or nothing. This is except or but, and then what we're trying to highlight, and the highlight, or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to highlight here is that the people, this is talking about people that accuse the prophets or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? They would say that this is nothing but magic, right? So this is only, this is clear magic. So they would try to make that clear to the people that they were trying to deceive, that this guy is full of tricks, right? This guy is full of magic. So in hada illa, nothing, hada, this is, illa, but or except, and then sihrun mubin. What the people are trying to highlight, the kuffar or the opponents of Islam, they would say that sihrun mubin, that this is clear magic, this is plain magic. So they brought sihrun mubin, they brought plain magic, after illa, to emphasize that this is nothing but plain magic. This is nothing but sorcery. And they will say all these things. This is nothing but poetry, right? To highlight that part where Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's actually not a prophet. He's just a magician, or he's just a sorcerer. He's just a poet, right? So they brought in, and they brought illa to emphasize that point that they're trying to drive home to the people, that don't follow Muhammad. He's just a magician, or don't follow Muhammad. He's doing nothing but sorcery, right? Na'udhu billah, obviously not, right? So, but this is part of the eloquence of the Quran, that this actually kind of shows what kind of enemies they were. That they were such staunch enemies of Islam that they would make it so, they're trying to highlight that, and obviously they were Arabs, and they were very, they were very eloquent in speech. They knew poetry, so they were very, they knew how to talk nicely and stuff, right? So Allah kind of captured that in the Quran as well, how they spoke about Islam, how they spoke about the Prophet, and how much, how eloquently they placed all the words in their speech or in their language, right? So in hada illa sihrun mubin. So I hope this is kind of clear that in and illa are connected in meaning, but in between there will be some words that come, in other verses as well. So in means nothing or no. Hada means this is, illa but. So nothing but. So this is nothing, right? So I mean, hada is being translated first in the English, that this is in illa, nothing but, and then whatever comes after that, sihrun mubin, or whether it's poetry or sorcery or whatever, whatever comes in the Quran, or whatever they want to say about the Prophet, and his miracle of the Quran, right? So sihrun mubin is what's being strongly emphasized here after illa. So I mean, one thing to remember, one key rule is, whatever comes after illa, that's going to be the highlight of the discussion, right? Or that's going to be highly emphasized. And whatever comes before illa, that's being negated, right? So just like la ilaha illallah, la ilaha before illa is la ilaha, which is being negated. There's no other God, no God at all. And then after illa, the word of Allah or the name of Allah is brought, which means that except Allah, that's being emphasized, that this is the only God. There's no other God besides Allah. And the same thing over here, what they're trying to say against the Prophet is that he doesn't know anything except sorcery, except or magic. This is plain magic. And whatever he's saying, his Quranic verses or advice, this is all just magic. That's all it is. There's nothing else, right? So they didn't believe, and they didn't have any ounce of belief that this was some miracle or some divine revelation, or maybe this guy's actually he's doing it from his own goodwill. But they just thought, they just clearly or blatantly just said, this is magic. This is only magic, right? So that was in and illa. The next example, or the next word, ma and illa, are very similar. Similar examples. This is another example of in and illa. Actually, I forgot one more example. We'll just go through real quick, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yusuf that in hada illa malakun kareem. In hada illa malakun kareem. Again, in and illa means nothing but, right? Nothing but. And then hada is brought again, which means this is. So this is nothing. This is but, or this is, this is nothing, or this is but a. And whatever comes after illa is what's being highlighted, what's being emphasized, which is malakun kareem, that this is a noble angel, right? So that this is actually talking about the women that were brought in by Zulaykha to see and witness the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam. So they were cutting the fruits, as we all know the story. They were cutting vegetables and fruits, and then as soon as Yusuf alayhi salam walked in, they said, "Ma hadha illa bashara." This is not a human being. This is nothing but an angel. Like, he was so beautiful. They just said, this guy he can't be human. He can't not be an earthly man. There's no way possible that this is a malakun kareem. This is an angel. And then and because of that, they were so astonished, and so they saw his beauty, and then they cut off their fingertips as well, right? Because that's how beautiful he was. So and on that note, they said that this can't be a man. This is in hada illa. This is nothing but a noble angel. That how his beauty, his demeanor, his everything was it made them think that he was an angel, right? The malakun kareem, and he is an angel. So this is where the in and illa is also brought, and whatever's being brought after illa is what we're trying to focus on. That malakun kareem is the emphasized I guess, character or characteristic of the noun that's being referred to, which is Yusuf alayhi salam in this verse, right? In the previous verse, it was it was the miracles of the Prophet. It was the Quran. They said that sihrun mubin, the apparent and clear magic. They were referring to the Prophet and the Quran, etc. Right? So in hada illa malakun kareem, this is nothing but a noble angel, referring to Yusuf alayhi salam. And then ma and illa, we'll do one more inshallah. We'll stop here. That ma and illa, similar to in and illa. So ma, as you can see in this verse as well, Surah Baqarah, ayah number 9, Allah says, وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. So ma is brought, and then another word is brought in the middle. Sometimes one word is brought, sometimes 3 or 4, like I mentioned, and then illa is brought, right? So ma and illa are a few words away from each other, or one word away from each other, and then but they're connected in meaning, right? So ma and illa means, again, same thing, nothing except or nothing but. So what this means is, or the translation real quick, is that they deceive no one but themselves, but they are not aware, right? They deceive no one but themselves, but they are not aware, or and they are not aware, either way. So wama yakhda'una, let's break it down. Wama means no. So just like how in meant no, just like how in our kalima la ilaha illallah, la means no, ma also means no, or no one, or nothing. Wama yakhda'una, and then yakhda'una is the verb here, means to deceive, that they deceive, they deceive, but then they actually don't deceive anyone, because then illa is brought, right? That or the ma is brought before the verb, which negates that, they don't deceive anyone except illa, then illa is brought, but or except anfusahum, themselves, right? So again, same thing, an exception with emphasis, that they can't deceive anyone. They think that they're deceiving the Prophet or Allah or other people in the community, but in reality they deceive no one except themselves. Like whatever wrong they're doing, whatever bad they're doing, whatever tricks they have up their sleeve to deceive people, at the end of the day, in reality, they're only deceiving themselves, because they're going to be held accountable for those actions, right? So at the end of the day, they're deceiving no one, and anyone can fit into this criteria, right? Whether it's people today or people in the past, anyone that has that deceives, or people that they think that they're deceiving Allah, or they're trying to trick Allah, or they're trying to lure people into wrong, or or into evil or sins, they're actually not doing anyone any harm except themselves, right? That they're harming themselves and their akhirah in the hereafter. So وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا, and nothing or no one are they deceiving, illa, except or but, anfusahum, themselves, right? Anfusa is a plural of nafs, and nafs means ourselves, or our soul, right? Ourselves. Nafs is one soul. Anfusahum, anfus is multiple souls, plural of souls. So anfusahum, they're deceiving themselves, actually, in reality. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, and while they're deceiving themselves, وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, they aren't even aware. That's how deep they're into it. That they think, for example, an example would be someone who's trying to, trick someone into, hey, let's go party, let's go get lit, or let's go and go drink, or let's miss salah, and let's go chill out, right? And they're actually harming someone else's akhirah, but in reality, in actual reality, they're harming themselves. And they have no idea, because the more people they try to deceive, the more gunah, the more sins they're gonna get. The more people that they're calling towards the path of shaitan, that's gonna be more sins and more of a heavier burden on them on the hereafter, right? So in reality, when all is said and done, after this world is gone, in the akhirah, they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in very big trouble, and it's all that pressure is going to be on them because of what they did. If they don't ask for forgiveness in this world, right? Of course. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, and they have no idea that they're doing all these things. They're recruiting all these people to go hang out and party and chill and be away from the path of Allah, and they have no idea that they're hurting themselves. They have no idea that they're that all this is going to bite them back, bite them back in the hereafter, right? And وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, they have no idea. They're not aware at all. So those are the worst kind of sinners, right? They have no idea. So when you do sin and you're aware of that, at least you're somewhat good. That, okay, I'm aware that I sin. I need to repent, I need to ask for forgiveness. But if you sin and you're not aware that you're sinning, and you're not aware that you're misguiding other people, that is, pretty much no hope for that person. And they're deceiving themselves so much that وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, they have no idea that they're doing that, right? So I mean, Allah protect all of us, inshallah, and our family members, inshallah, that we are humans, we will make mistakes, but inshallah, hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that clarity and gives us that guidance that we know when we're making a mistake, so that we can rectify ourselves and we can ask for forgiveness, inshallah, right? But okay, let's focus on the Arabic here, that وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا, there is nothing that they are doing, or there's nothing that they deceive, illa, but, or except, anfusahum, themselves, wama yash'urun, and they are not aware, or wama yash'urun, they have no idea. They have no idea, right? So this is ma and illa, which is, also bringing emphasis into what's coming after illa, which is themselves. They're deceiving themselves in reality. And this is just another example of, in and illa. Ma and illa, in and illa, they're both very similar, as you can see from the examples. They're just, there's just different words in the Quran, different words in the Arabic language that are used for negations, like ma and in and la, so far that we did, and other words, kalla, also, that mean, negative, or that give off the negative. It's a negative particle, right? So it talks about negating whatever you're going to talk about after that, whether it's a noun or a sentence or a verb, or a whole a sentence after that. It can negate all of that through these words, ma and la and in and illa, etc. And illa brings it back. So for example, if there was no illa, if there was only ma, then this whole sentence would only be a negation, that وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ أَنفُسَهُم, that they don't deceive themselves, right? But since the illa is brought, it gives, it means the opposite now, that they don't deceive anyone but themselves, right? So if illa wasn't there, then the whole thing would be a negation, sentence. But since illa is there, it turns back into a positive or affirmative sentence, that the affirmation here is that they are actually deceiving themselves, right? Similar to the previous one, in hada illa sihrun mubin. If there was no illa, it would be a negative sentence as well, that there is or this is not magic. In hada sihrun mubin would mean this is not magic, right? This is not clear magic. But since illa is brought, it changes up the sentence, the opposite meaning, which means that this is nothing but magic. This is nothing except magic. So it is magic, basically, and kind of emphasizing on that. So those are two of these. So we did two of these, in and illa and ma and illa. I'm gonna save those next two for next Monday, inshallah, and I'll add some more to that, inshallah, as well, that we could do. I don't think we have that much left for negation and exception particles for this chapter, and hopefully we can go to the next chapter as well. But I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this will take 1.5 to 2 months, inshallah, slowly, but because we're only doing once a week. But inshallah, at the end, hopefully we can master these frequent used words, and that will amount up to 50% of the Quran, hopefully 45 to 50% of the Quran. And it's going to help us a lot, inshallah. So if you're really looking forward to understanding the Quran more, inshallah, join this. Tell your family members, tell your relatives, tell your your kids as well. That living, kids going up to school at in this era, especially, that they want to know what they're learning. They want to know what they're reading and what's going in their brains, right? So when we read the Quran on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever, in Ramadan, we want to know what's going on. We want to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, right? So this is gonna, inshallah, help us, from now till next Ramadan. So hopefully by that time, when we hear the Quran, in Taraweeh, or when we're reading the Quran, we'll get a better understanding, or we'll have we'll have an idea of what's going on in this verse, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. We can also always, open up English translation as well, and follow through those verses to kind of more understand, to get some more clarity, inshallah, to get some more understanding of what exactly is being said here, right? And this Arabic, inshallah, is gonna, these frequent used words are going to help more, inshallah, hopefully, as you recite the Quran more. So I mean, definitely do that, to keep this, to keep this in your mind, these words in your mind. Make sure you read the Quran as well. So maybe on a daily basis, make some time, even if it's one page or even half a page, something's gonna come up. All these words that we did so far, 12, 13, 15 words, something's gonna come up in that half page of your Quran. Something's gonna come up in that 1 page or 2 pages of your Quran for sure, inshallah ta'ala. So then those will be kind of still fresh in your mind, and it's gonna be, it'll be easy to understand and keep that up as we move forward, right? Because at the end of 4 or 5 weeks down the line, it's gonna be a lot of words, right? So we want to keep these fresh in our mind so that we know what these words mean as we're going through them, inshallah, and how we can keep them in our minds fresh is if we read the Quran more, right? So I mean, half a page, 1 page, whatever, one surah, whatever it is, whatever we're capable of, right? Whatever you're capable of in the morning, in the evening, wherever it is, try to read some Quran on a daily basis. And inshallah, I mean, there's so many benefits to that. There's a whole, we could talk about that forever. It's going to be a good, a blessing for you during the day, a nur for your life, a nur, it will enlighten your day, inshallah, as well as it'll get you closer to your God, to your religion, to understand the Quran more, inshallah ta'ala, right? So that's our goal here, to help, inshallah, help each other understand the Quran more, help each other live by the Quran, right? That's our ultimate goal, right? Before we die, we want to, inshallah, live by the Quran, live according to what the Prophet ﷺ showed us through the hadith, and how to, implement these verses to our lives, inshallah ta'ala, right? So those are the words that we did today. Inshallah, we could do more next week, because this week we kind of talked about the previous words that we did before Ramadan. But keep those in mind for now. In and illa, ma and illa. Keep an eye out for those. You have one whole week, you have 7 more days till next Monday to kind of see, if you read a page a day, 7 pages, I'm sure you're going to come across in and illa, or ma and illa, or even illa itself is going to come. It's going to be repeated so many times, inshallah. So keep an eye out for those. Understand those, try to look up the meaning, if you come across a verse, and see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in this verse, right? Inshallah ta'ala. So keep that up, keep up the recitation, keep up the connection with the Quran, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make bless all of us and forgive all of us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more importantly, make the Quran an intercessor for us on the day of Qiyamah, right? The Quran can be, speak on our behalf, that, oh Allah, so and so was studying me, or they learned your words, they learned your, they learned Quranic Arabic. So, Allah, forgive that person. Allah, enter that person into Jannah, inshallah, right? So we want, that to be the case for ourselves, inshallah, and our family members. The Quran becomes an intercessor for us on the day of Qiyamah, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, inshallah. If there's any questions, we can take some questions. Still have a few minutes for salah. If not, we can conclude here, inshallah. Any questions about anything you didn't understand, or anything I can re-explain if needed? And we are having this in person. No one's really here today except our beloved brother Ammar. But it's going to be hard kind of transitioning back to a whole year and a half of virtual programs, coming back in person. It's so much easier when it's virtual, obviously, when you could be comfortable in your homes. But inshallah, we still have to be close to the masjid, inshallah, right? The masjid is a hospital for us, really, right? Our spiritual health is going to be cured, and whatever kind of diseases we have in the hearts, or our illnesses spiritually, is going to be cured, inshallah, through the masjid, through being acquainted with salah, with the Quran, with our religion, inshallah ta'ala, right? So if there's no questions, inshallah, jazakallah khairan for joining. Hopefully you guys can keep joining, inshallah, every Monday night. And then also, spread the word to your family members, your friends. If everyone can bring one more friend next week, then we can have double the people, inshallah. And inshallah, we can grow like that, because we want, to benefit people as much as possible, right? So when you tell a person, inshallah, that will be your reward. If that person joins and benefits and learns, and down the line becomes a hafid or a hafidha or whatever it is, right? You'll get all the reward for that, right? So imagine how much reward you could get just by telling someone that, hey, the Quranic Arabic program, join it, learn it, implement it, and then you're gonna get all the reward for that, inshallah ta'ala, right? So do that, inshallah ta'ala, and inshallah we'll see you guys next week. Jazakallah khairan for joining in, and have a good night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.